I'm going to pivot ever so slightly because there is another trial that I want to talk about. Out in Nevada, after a 30-year wait, they have finally decided to prosecute someone in the murder of Tupac Shakur. His name is Dwayne Davis. He also went by Keefe D. He is now 63 years old. And the defense is kind of saying, are we sure Keefe D was even in Vegas that night? And maybe he wasn't. But you know who was? This girl. Yes, if you followed me for a couple of years on here, you know that there is a story about me being one of the very last people to ever speak with Tupac Shakur before he was shot that night. Hours before he was shot, I had an interaction with him in the lobby of the Luxor Hotel. I would love to tell you it was a deeply moving conversation, maybe even just a memorable meet cute. But I am a tragically unhip white woman, and I should never, ever, ever be allowed to spend time alone trying to chat it up with rappers. No. And in my defense, I didn't even know who it was. It was a case of mistaken identity. I made an absolute fucking fool out of myself, and the only saving grace is that I really honestly believe he was high as a kite. And so he stood there very amused by me. Anyway, it's a great story to tell at cocktail parties. And I told the story on TikTok a couple years ago. If you go way down in my profile, probably 500 videos down, you'll find it. But I feel like if someone is going to be prosecuted finally in this man's murder, then I just want to at least have the courtesy to cover it a little bit. I'm not going to do a daily thing. I don't have that kind of time. We're already 1 week into the trial. So I might just do a mini series where I just once a week come here and update. Let me start as I do with any trial just to give you the quick rundown. On September 7th, 1996, Tupac Shakur was shot in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas, and he died in the hospital 6 days later. That night, there was a heavyweight title fight, I think it was, between Mike Tyson and a guy named Bruce Seldon. That name doesn't ring a bell? Well, he's the guy that managed to go 1 minute and 49 seconds with Mike Tyson. Over in a flash. Some people didn't even make it to their seats, and it was already over. Tupac, having been friends with Mike Tyson, he was sitting ringside, and he had an entire crew with him. He was with Suge Knight, and he was with a couple of other guys from Death Row Records, who are also of the Bloods. So that this is a gang thing, Bloods and Crips. They were part of the Bloods, a couple of the guys. There was a altercation following the fight in the MGM. One of the guys in Tupac's crew spots some guy that he knows is in a rival gang. He's a Crip, and he swears that that guy took his necklace. And these rappers, I learned this from the YSL case, these rappers are super sensitive about their neckwear. Like it means a lot to have one of the necklaces. And when someone steals your necklace, that is an affront. So they catch up with this guy. His name is Orlando Anderson. And they essentially manage to just jump Orlando Anderson. It's like 5-on-1. And this part is caught on video. There is video of this fight. And it's pretty brutal. They get him on the ground. They're kicking him. They're beating him. They stomp him pretty good. And Tupac and his group go back to the Luxor, which is where they were staying. Death Row had a whole group of rooms at the Luxor that night. Hold on a minute. This was 1996. So I promise you, this is when the Luxor and the MGM, those were the brand new hotels. So those were considered pretty supreme places to stay at the time. Orlando Anderson hightails it out of there, and he goes and finds his uncle. His uncle is Keefe D, who is a leader of the Southside Crips in LA. And the Crips and the Bloods got beef. But not only that, is the Crips were kind of on the side of this East Coast, West Coast rap thing. They were on Biggie and Sean Diddy's side versus the Bloods, who were on Tupac and Suge Knight's side. It's a whole big thing. Anyway, a couple hours later, Tupac and Suge leave the Luxor in Suge's BMW, a couple other cars in the entourage, right, following them. And they're headed to a nightclub that I think was owned or managed by Suge Knight. That's where they're going to have a celebration. Tupac was going to perform a couple of songs. Mike Tyson was supposed to show up. It was going to be this big to-do. They're driving to the club, and as they're stopped at a stoplight, another car pulls up next to them. It's a Cadillac. Gunshots ring out from the other car. And Tupac is hit 4 times. He's rushed to the hospital and he dies 6 days later at the age of 25. Now, there were 4 people in this Cadillac. Keefe D says he was in the passenger seat. And of course, since they pulled up on the passenger side of the other car, he couldn't do the shooting. So he hands the gun to Orlando Anderson, and apparently Orlando is the gunman. Orlando and the 2 other people that were in that car are no longer alive. In fact, neither are some of the investigators, neither are some of the witnesses. But here's Keefe D on trial because in Vegas, even though you're not the shooter yourself, if you provided the weapon and you provided the plan, which is what they say Keefe D did, you can be tried for murder. If convicted, he would get life in prison without parole. Because this is a story about gang warfare, there are a lot of people that do not want to testify. Even 30 years later, they do not feel safe talking. And so there's a lot of reluctant witnesses. There's a lot of people that are being like subpoenaed and forced to testify, which is not going well for the prosecution. But what the prosecution does have on their side is the fact that for the last 30 years, Keefe D hasn't shut the fuck up. And this guy has repeatedly, kind of as a bragging rights thing, he wrote a memoir. He appeared in documentaries. I mean, there has been repeated times where he's like, yeah, we did that. Yeah, yep. Because he wanted fame. He wanted notoriety. He wanted money. He wanted power. And now he's sitting in court and he's like, oh, well, I was just kidding. I was just kidding. In my memoir, I made that up so we could sell more books. So this one's interesting. I'm going to make another video right after this one that just walks you through really quickly the first week of some of the testimony and stuff. If you're interested, please come back. I'm not going to go into great detail. This may end up being a 5 or 6 video series, nothing major. I've done some research, and I think for a nerdy white woman, I think I'm going to be able to hold my own in the East Coast, West Coast rap battle conversation. So please keep coming back.